If you've ever heard me talk about being an advocate, getting to talk to your lawmakers, you know how incredibly passionate I am about it. I love making sure that my voice is heard, making sure that I'm making a difference and I'm contributing. And today we have a very special guest who is going to join us to talk about PCOS Advocacy Day. And if you have never met or heard Sasha Ottey speak, you are going to be blown away. She's amazing and such an inspiration. So this is going to be a little bit different than what we normally do on a Monday with our Ask Us Anythings, because this is really about empowering you to lend your voice, lend your story, teach you how to talk to your lawmakers. And if you haven't ever done that before, it is fun. It is exciting. It is, I have to say, one of the most exhilarating days. And thank you, sharing together. No questions at the moment. And I'm so glad to know that we've helped you through all of our talks. You know, everything that we're about is making sure that we get your questions answered. So as soon as Sasha is able to join us on Instagram from PCOS Challenge, we're going to make sure that we dive into this conversation about PCOS Advocacy Day. I think she is. She's coming on. And if you have a moment right now while we're waiting, there we go. I see her joining, and then I'm going to add her. If you have a moment, go to pcoschallenge.org/advocacy, and you will be able to register only until tonight. So it's around the corner. It's on March 4th, which happens to be my brother's birthday. There she is, the fabulous, the fierce. Hi.
Hello.
Sasha.
Hi. How are you?
Gosh, I'm good. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but we are fine. And we're going to have a fabulous conversation. Lower your phone just a little bit, or William can lower a little bit. We have tech support helping us. Every time that we try to do one of these for the first time, it's a little clunky, but we're here, we're ready. Okay. So I want to start first, Sasha, thank you, just on behalf of like everyone.
Oh,
for
thank you so much.
Tireless work. I mean, truly just tireless work. PCOS is not a once a year challenge, and Advocacy Day is only once a year. So we get one chance to forward your agenda with Congress. So take me through first what the agenda is for this year. What's the focus and how can we help?
Well, thank you so much, first of all, for having me, Alice. It's truly an honor to be here to speak to you about PCOS Advocacy Day. It's really an exciting time in the community where people have the opportunity to speak about how this impacts them and create change. So, you know, our tireless advocates are being the change that they want to be, right? And I really, really love and commend all of the advocates who have signed up so far. Unfortunately, today's the last day to sign up. So I have to plug, go to pcos.ch/advocacy or pcoschallenge.org and register for PCOS Advocacy Day. So
I did.
Yay.
So tell me, where are you going to put me? What do I do? You know, walk us through, because it's virtual, which means more people can participate than have ever been able to participate before.
Correct. And we have people joining us from Puerto Rico, from Hawaii, from all over the states. We even have some scientists from other countries who will be joining us to advocate on behalf of patients with PCOS globally. So that's super, super, super just exciting. And so I'll just, sorry.
No worries.
I'll just give a rundown of what the day will look like. But before that, I'll give you just what are we asking for, right?
Yes.
So every year since the beginning of PCOS Advocacy Day, we've tried to garner support from our Congress members and senators, members of Congress, to recognize the seriousness of PCOS and officially designate September as PCOS Awareness Month, right? So that's, and then ask for more, highlighting the need for more research and treatment options, and eventually a cure. And here at PCOS Challenge, our vision is that PCOS is treated as a public health priority.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so this is the first step in really getting that done. And so, well, so that's the first thing we're going to ask for our members of Congress to sign on to the PCOS resolution.
Okay.
And yes, and that's what that does. Recognize the seriousness of PCOS. Next, we have worked with members, identified members of the Congress who want to be true champions, and so we formed the bipartisan PCOS caucus.
That's
And
amazing. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
yes, it's the bipartisan congressional PCOS caucus. And so these are true champions on the Hill who will be pushing legislation for more research and other priorities around PCOS. And because they care about this, because this PCOS is a really pervasive, prevalent disorder that impacts 10 to even 20% of women.
For
So
life, right? That's the thing. When you and I
for
first met, we're like,
life,
this is for life. And if we can get earlier diagnosis, if we can get a better clinical diagnosis than like the tool set we currently have, then we can do the early interventions to help people mitigate the impact. I was hearing, I think it was the PCOS dietitian. I'm forgetting her handle, but I was just listening to her this morning and I was kind of alarmed at some of the statistics that I was hearing about the higher risk for heart disease. And yet 50% of her community that she surveyed said they don't really ever think about the risk, about their, their risk prevalence for heart disease.
correct.
It's like,
So
whew,
one of the unfortunate things is how it's when you do get a diagnosis, if you are the 50% of people who do get diagnosed, um, the focus is mainly on infertility and fertility
right.
issues, which is really important. However, this is your menstruation and
Mhm.
everything with PCOS is connected to your metabolic health. It's connected to your
Exactly.
mental health. It's connected to your quality of life.
Right.
So, while infertility is a really important piece of PCOS, with PCOS being the most common cause of anovulatory infertility, which makes it the most common cause of infertility in women,
Infertility. Sure.
it's also connected to some of the largest burdens on wellness in
That's right.
general.
Like
And
diabetes, even like high cholesterol, like heart disease, all of these things that end up costing the system so much money. And through your work, you're able to connect those dots, which is why the caucus is so important. Because if
is
they can make the economic argument, then hopefully we can see some, I think, significant dollars put towards research, put towards
and
intervention.
that is the goal. So of course, there we know certain aspects. We have research in certain aspects of PCOS, where in other aspects of PCOS, like metabolic health, mental health,
Right.
um, the data is lacking, and the funding for research is decreasing.
Ugh.
So while the needs are
Mhm.
increasing, the funding for research is decreasing, which we feel this sense of urgency to act now.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
right. So yeah, I see someone mentioned this needs to be addressed during adolescence, which is she's correct. This is when most people start having symptoms of
Right.
PCOS. Is during
Right.
adolescence, and that's one of the things that so many people who get diagnosed later in life, they will always say, I knew something was wrong when I was 13 or 14
Right.
or 15, but the doctors dismissed me until I
Mhm.
tried to get pregnant.
Right.
So we have a lot of work to do.
which is infuriating simply because of the positive lifestyle choices people can make. And the earlier that we impart that wisdom, the more likely I think people are to be compliant with
Absolutely.
lifestyle change or
And
choice.
the choice, right? And the thing is how we communicate about PCOS and the management of PCOS is
Right,
also very important. And providers communicate what we learn from research, right? So
right.
the more we learn, the more information we're able to, the more evidence-based and correct information that we're able to apply to the individual needs of patients.
This is great. Is there an appropriation amount that on PCOS Advocacy Day we're going to be asking for Congress to sign on to?
We're not asking for an amount yet. We're just asking for
Them to
them
care.
to
Yeah.
care at this
Yeah. Can
point.
you just care? I need evidence of you caring. Yes. Okay. I
And
love
so,
it.
yeah, there's it's a process. Before we can ask for an amount,
Right.
they have to be able to
You have to
identify this
get it.
as a problem, and they have to be
Yeah.
able to get it. Which is one of the things that we're asking for is for PCOS to be listed on their database, RCDC reporting database that identifies each of the disease states that NIH funds, and PCOS is
It's not
not
even
listed.
listed.
It's
Oh
not
my
even
gosh. You
listed.
got to be kidding me. I didn't even know that. Okay.
Not kidding.
Who makes
Not
that
kidding.
decision? Who do we have to get? I mean, who's that single point of
We're on
contact?
it.
I know
We're
you
on
are.
it. We've been lobbying the NIH, and
Okay.
so now they listen to Congress. And so
Right.
when your congressperson says, "Why is this not a
Okay.
part of this?"
Right.
this so that's one of the asks that we will be having on during Advocacy Day. So
And
it's a
hence
really
the
important.
brilliance of the caucus. That's brilliant because then the
Exactly.
caucus can write the one letter to the NIH that says, come on, it's time to do this.
Time to do this. PCOS has been identified for over 85 years.
It's
What's
ridiculous.
wow.
That's just absurd. Oh my
It
gosh,
is.
it's infuriating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. Dr. Isabel Bogdan she's so supportive. Thank you, Dr. Isabel Bogdan.
Thank you.
Yeah, in saying we need to address the connection with movement, food, emotions. Isn't that so true? I think for all of us in every condition, especially like looking at this pandemic year, right? I mean, almost emotionally seems like it's like the output of how much we move and what we put into our body, almost could
Yeah.
elicit the emotional response. And if you have this metabolic syndrome working against you, it makes it harder to move, harder to make good choices. And then it's just, right? It's like a catch 22. We're trying to
Yeah.
motivate people.
And it's hard to be motivated when you're dealing with anxiety, depression, these severe depressive symptoms, bipolar disorder. These are all connected to PCOS.
Right.
Many people don't know about this. They're like, why do I feel this way? Why are my
Right.
moods so all over the place? Why do I
Ugh,
feel this way? And then there are body image issues connected
of
to
course.
PCOS with the
Yeah.
hirsutism, the hair growth, the hair
Mm,
loss, acne. So there's so many sexual dysfunction, low
sure.
libido. There's so many things that impact quality of life that sometimes
Mm,
makes it hard to do the things that you're supposed to do to make yourself feel better. But
right.
then it's sometimes hard to be motivated. You hear that from patient stories all the time. But yes, but then sometimes, when we get the right information, when we find the right
Mm,
formula, because
mhm.
it's trial and error.
So it's trial and error, which is also
Yeah,
frustrating.
quite.
Mm.
Yeah. So no, so we're really super, super excited that and there's so many physicians, researchers who have signed up
That's
this year,
great. We
healthcare
need them
providers.
because
We
Congress
do
pays attention to those expert voices. They really, we can emotionally get them to connect with the patient stories, right? That has to be
absolutely.
a critical part of it. But I've noticed doing advocacy days for years and just being in the advocacy world, they really look to the experts to say, tell me the facts that I need to know, right? And
Absolutely.
So what does the day kind of look like to, so I'm now in Idaho, and I don't know if you have any advocates yet,
Ooh,
but I'm in Idaho. So I can get some bipartisan support here, because that's my mission
yes,
living here, is to get the other side to care.
yes, yeah,
And that,
yeah,
has historically not wanted to be in the reproductive health conversation with us.
yeah,
Okay, let's just say that.
yeah.
And so I have this opportunity now to contribute to you in this great state of Idaho. It's beautiful here. And
Wonderful.
so do you have kind of like my little cheat sheet? You're going to tell me what I'm going to say and who I'm going to say it to. And
Yeah.
okay.
So that's this is kind of the fun part. Even though it's all virtual this year and you're going to be
I
speaking
love
to
virtual
people.
advocacy. My feet love virtual advocacy days. Oh my gosh, I think they're the best thing ever.
If you've ever experienced an advocacy day on Capitol Hill, yeah, you need a foot bath, a soak
Everything
after that.
afterwards.
Everything
Oh my
hurts.
gosh. You're
But
dehydrated, you're
yeah,
tired, but you feel so good. It's like the most exhilarating day of the year.
it
Getting
is.
to do a full day of advocacy work in this field, it is. It's like the most exhilarating day of the year.
It's so empowering.
It
And
is.
and that's one of the things where you feel like you've taken back some power, right?
Yes. Yes.
If you're and then you're connected to people who understand what you're going through,
Yes.
and you don't it's a unique situation, and then now including more providers paired
Yes.
with patients. I mean, it's going to be such a wonderful dynamic. I can't
You
wait.
the part that I love too is when the staffers remind us that their boss works for us.
Yeah.
Right? When
Right.
you're a constituent in
Yeah.
the district having this conversation, the staffers and your congressional person, whether it's depending on if they're House representatives or if they're in the Senate, they will remind you that that person works for you.
Yep. Yep.
And
That's
that
why.
feels amazing. It's like, oh wait, so like I'm your constituent. You'll take a meeting with me whenever I want. And the
Yeah.
staff will say, yes, yes, we will.
Yeah.
Yes, we will.
It's
They love it when their constituents talk to them.
They do. And being a part of this effort, and it's a concerted effort where everyone is asking for the same thing, and it's highlighting the importance of this specific thing of
Yeah.
PCOS research, of how it impacts their constituents, right? And how
Hmm.
they as representatives can help their constituents and create
Yeah.
change um,
Yeah.
through policy.
Well,
It's really
imagine
exciting.
too, I love this. I mean, imagine too that connecting the dots on the impact of depression on uh, job growth. If you have somebody who's disabled, who can't work, and the economic impact of that on the system versus someone who can continue to contribute in society. And by ignoring all these things, we're just creating, I mean, the domino effect of PCOS is the thing that's so alarming
Yeah,
and so frustrating, that
yeah,
it's like if we don't intervene, then we just create this horrible domino effect. And so then people are trying to cope with like 20 different things rather than just going to the source of the beginning of it all in the first place. And that impact economically is huge.
it
Even just
is.
lost days of productivity in a month for an employer, right? Let alone if
For
somebody can't actually work.
right, for an employer. And that's a really important point. Yesterday during our training, one of the panelists on the patient panel, she said just that. She said, "This impacts my life. This impacts my ability to work."
Yeah.
Um, it's, that's super important. If you're dealing with depressive symptoms, if you're dealing with mental health issues,
Right.
that's going to impact your ability to work and your productivity. If you're dealing with infertility issues and you have
Oh
to go,
yeah.
that's another challenge to scheduling all these appointments, and that impacts your
Right.
productivity. So it's a real challenge. So with PCOS being this compounded
Mm-hmm.
issue of infertility, of diabetes, if we learn that the connection to liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is now the most common cause of liver transplants, and PCOS is a direct upstream link
I did not
to
realize
non-alcoholic
that.
fatty,
I've been wondering, why are we?
independent of obesity. So you can have not, but exacerbated by, but independent of obesity. PCOS is an
Wow.
independent risk factor for these really serious conditions
It's
that
a
are
very
huge
serious
burdens.
condition. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a huge increase in people being diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And it
Yes.
sort of like
Yes.
it seemed like it came out of nowhere, but now I'm realizing it didn't. It came out of PCOS.
Yeah. If you have 10% of the female population, 10-20%,
Right.
um, that has this disorder, that's an independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease, for liver
Mm-hmm.
disease, for diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
50% will become diabetic or pre-diabetic before age 40. You're hearing teenagers and adolescents
Right.
with have getting fatty liver and
Oh my
diabetes, and
gosh.
it's it's a really challenging disorder, and the more we ignore the connection, the metabolic impact, the
Mm-hmm.
huge impact that PCOS has on individual health, on community health, on the
Right.
the healthcare system as a
Mm-hmm.
whole, the the worse it'll get. So
Yeah, the worse it'll get. That's why
we're
PCOS
doing all this.
Advocacy Day. Okay. March 4th.
Yes,
Go to
March 4th.
PCOSchallenge.org/advocacy, right? That's one of the
Yes,
websites.
or
Okay.
yes, PCOSchallenge.org. If that's all you can remember, PCOSchallenge.org, you should see
How to
Advocacy
register.
Day. Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
And it's $25 to register for the day. So it's a very small investment in the best day of your life and an incredible funding towards you, right? It goes to incredible outcomes, incredible organization, and you get amazing training as well.
Yeah,
So think about it like that. Like you're paying $25 to get really important training that you can leverage and use for the rest of your life. So that's a really big deal. But the registration closes tonight, but you can work with everyone across the country, right? I mean, you do have representation coming in from experts coming in from outside the country, but
we
if you're
do.
in the US, no matter what state you're with, Sasha knows how to put you to work that day.
Yeah, we're gonna put you to work. You'll go to at least 2 to 3 meetings. So your representative and your two Senate meetings. So most people will speak to staffers, who are, we know the staff, they're the ones who really drive
They
much of what
do.
happens.
You have to have them as
So
your champion. That is
yes,
without a doubt. They have to be your champion.
yes. But some of you may even get to speak with your representative or your senator.
Yeah,
Well,
which is amazing when it
virtually in
happens.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
So,
So this is, I see a couple questions coming in, and I think these are important to address. So the Kishli Cowley, I think I said that right, Kishli Cowley, can PCOS go years without being diagnosed, even through multiple IVF cycles? It's a sad answer,
PCOS,
but
so most people go through, there was a recent study that said that most patients go through to at least 3 physicians, 3 doctors before they get diagnosed. And that's a gross underestimation, because anecdotally, you'll hear people say, I went to 4 doctors, I gave up. I went to
right.
5 doctors. I went decades. I got
Yeah,
diagnosed in my 40s.
right.
So think of spanning 20 years with so many missed opportunities for
Oh
diagnosis
gosh.
and for, yeah, and that impacts your family building, that impacts so much, not
Right.
having the tools. That's
Sasha, we
insane.
see this. This is a recent trend. We're now offering free text support through 3 fertility advocates that we have. They're advocates for our users, and they're noticing a trend where women are self-reporting PCOS, but then when they have a conversation with them, they're finding out it wasn't a clinical diagnosis. It's the patient's, and that I said today to my team, that's part of the problem. She's probably right. She
She's
probably knows what's
right.
going on, and she hasn't been able to find a good provider to confirm what she knows, and her gut is the truth.
Well, I mean, yes, that happens all the time. Most you'll hear people say, I, I diagnosed myself. But interestingly, there's a large genomic study, genetic study on PCOS that showed that there is no difference or very little difference between self-reported PCOS diagnosis and getting
Clinical.
it in
Right.
clinical. So yeah, you're right. If there's something
Mm-hmm.
wrong, more than likely, the thing about PCOS and getting that diagnosis is that you have to exclude other disorders, and some of them can be
Right.
really serious, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe a tumor or something. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really important for if you feel that you have PCOS, you have irregular cycles, you have
Mm-hmm.
facial hair or body hair growth, um, uh, acne well into your adult life,
Mm-hmm.
very severe acne issues, infertility. A lot of people have challenges
Mm-hmm.
with weight gain and or weight difficulty losing weight. So there are the metabolic challenges, there are the mental health challenges, there are the reproductive challenges, and you talk to your physician until they give you an answer, right? Or find
Yeah.
someone
Or
who
find someone.
has,
And we can help with
yeah,
that. You can help with that. I know you know some
yes,
great people. We will,
absolutely.
our number one thing with our community is if you are not being heard, let us help you find a different provider.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important because we hear all the time the a provider might in hamper a person's progress
Yeah, absolutely.
if they yeah, that happens all the time. So I mean, you are in charge of your life,
That's
right?
right.
And if something is wrong, you feel that something is wrong, seek a second, a third, fourth, fifth
Yeah.
opinion until you get the answers that you need.
So a couple of important things are coming up because this is why it's so challenging for even providers sometimes to make a
Yep.
clear diagnosis. So Jessica is saying that even after a clinical diagnosis, oh, that was the one I Stitch Loves right above her. Sorry, Jessica. She saw on her ultrasound a lot of cysts. And then IVF doctors will come on our show and say, well, cysts alone does not mean you actually have PCOS, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
that's a frustrating thing as well
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
I wish we had a blood test. Can't we get there? Like what do we have to do to find the biomarkers in blood so that we can actually have a more accurate diagnosis and
Yeah.
screening tool?
Absolutely. I think we're getting there. We're on our way there, and patients are demanding answers now. That's,
Yeah.
it's there is this sense of urgency in the community, especially as
Yeah.
people have their own families and they notice traits in
Right.
um, their girls and even their boys,
Yes.
right? So,
Right.
right, right.
Yeah.
So there's this sense of urgency. There needs to be innovation in this space.
Right.
There's a lot of things happening, I think, behind the scenes. So since we started advocating and highlighting PCOS as this um, public health priority,
Mm-hmm.
more people in industry have taken notice, and we're optimistic and hopeful that this will mean a brighter future, easier diagnosis. But we just have to
That's right. We
keep
have
pushing for
to.
that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And Stitch saying, she was just laughed at saying, oh, well, you have PCOS, try losing weight, which could anything be more infuriating than that? Oh my gosh.
I tell you, that was a part of my PCOS story. And that's a part of the majority of people, especially if
Mhm.
you do have a larger body. Even people who are lean PCOS are told to lose weight.
That's
That's
crazy.
that's the toolbox. There's such a limited
Oh,
toolbox
so
because there's
limited.
such little evidence. It's a complicated issue that we need to, filter through.
Hmm.
And so we can have better answers, better support,
That's right.
better options for people
Hmm.
besides just losing weight, which we know is quite the feat when you're dealing with these
Exactly.
metabolic underlying metabolic issues such as
Oh my
insulin
gosh.
resistance, etc.
So
So
many people are saying the same. Yeah, I was just told to lose weight and eat better. And it's like, gosh, it just, nah, that's like telling me
yeah,
when I had breast cancer, like, don't eat bacon and maybe it'll go
yeah,
away. It's like, I didn't eat bacon for 15 years, people. It's not the reason I got breast
it's
cancer.
not the reason. Right,
Just
right.
not. I mean, gosh,
And
we're like multifaceted humans with like a ton of environmental toxins,
so many things.
so many things. There's so many things. And yes,
Yeah,
we can control, but like you have it. And so that's not, it's not so simple.
right.
Some other comments that I want to go through and make sure. AMH levels. So usually, we see some people with like really high AMH levels where you're
Yeah,
wondering if they need to get retested. Is it even right that it's that high?
right.
Right.
Probably have
So,
these, yeah, probably have all those little cysts and
mhm.
um, but it's really interesting that AMH is one of those markers that's being looked at as a potential diagnostic tool for PCOS or uh,
Mhm.
it's one of those high interest areas.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think
because the
we'll see
high
a lot
levels
more.
are so high, right? It's not like a couple points higher than the average. We're
Right,
talking about sometimes like 10
right,
points higher than the
yeah,
average, right? So
yeah.
I think that's what I always see when I'm like, whoa, that is super high. So we've got a couple of folks. Let's talk about how people, when you support them through the PCOS challenge, how they can find a doctor who has true expertise in PCOS.
That's
How
one
do
of the
they
things that
engage
we're
with
working
the
on.
challenge?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we're working on. And the challenge there is a lot of doctors self identify as PCOS experts.
Mm,
So we're working on courses and working with medical societies to, you know, kind of have a quality check.
that's great.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that we can have a true database of people
Yeah.
who are true PCOS experts. Because I
Well,
mean,
because that's the thing. REI's goal, and Serena Chen will always say this, and our doctors will always admit this. Like their goal is to get you pregnant. They know how to get somebody
yeah,
pregnant and take home a baby if they have
mm-hmm,
PCOS.
mm-hmm,
They don't treat PCOS.
right.
So, and
It's
that's the problem.
PCOS requires a multidisciplinary approach,
Yeah.
and I
You
mean
got to be the
that's
CEO of your team, just like
you do,
with the aftermath of cancer care.
you
Same. And
you do right.
we have these huge multidisciplinary survivorship clinics. We need that for PCOS,
Yes,
where it's
yes,
like multidisciplinary centers all in one roof, right? Where like you've got your naturopath and you've got your integrative people and your acupuncturists and your nutritionists and your
exactly.
endocrinologists and all of it just in one place.
That's the only way, and that's what we're pushing for.
Okay.
Just having a multidisciplinary team
Yeah.
of people who can, because some doctors they'll tell you, okay, lose weight. And this was my story, lose weight. So I tried. The next thing I said, okay, so can I see a nutritionist or a dietitian? And
Right.
my insurance wouldn't pay for it. So because I wasn't diabetic.
Oh, jeez. So I'm trying to
And
prevent developing diabetes. They won't. Yeah, that's the most
yes,
infuriating thing about our insurance system in this country
yeah.
is the lack
So
of actual preventative care.
it's such a huge challenge. But so with a doctor being supported by a dietitian or an
Yes.
integrative or naturopath or whatever, having that team, your
Hmm.
own PCOS team, is what each person needs because it requires a multidisciplinary approach, but also extremely individualized
Right.
um, care.
Very.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I don't know. Maybe we
yeah.
need to start a new company together, Sasha. I had one under my existing
Yeah.
one. We just need, maybe like 5 million. We just need to raise like 5 million. And then, we can set up the first,
Oh,
PCOS challenge
so
multidisciplinary, center. I kind of like this.
center. I like it. I like it. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so a couple other things popping up is that wow, in the UK, someone says you have to have 3 consecutive miscarriages before you even get a fertility consult. Wow. We always say here in the US, like if you already know you have PCOS, go in for the fertility consult anyway. Don't wait the year of struggling and
Do
trying
not.
because you already have a condition that is going to make it harder.
Yes, yes. So that's one of the things. I see so many people wait, or they're told to wait because
Yeah.
they're young, or
I hate that
yeah,
too, where they dismiss
yeah,
a
they
married
dismiss
25-year-old
you.
couple because
Yeah,
they're just like, we have time to give it. And it's like, no, they
yeah,
want a baby now. And
exactly.
the population is declining. And if this is a couple that wants to have 4 babies, we're going to help them have 4 babies.
For babies, right?
Right?
Correct. The population is declining globally, and
Globally.
PCOS is a huge contributor to that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So we need to help now.
Yeah.
Stitch Loves, it's as far as doctors or centers in New Jersey. If you need someone just to treat your PCOS, probably reach out to Sasha at PCOS
Yeah,
Challenge, become a
PCOS challenge.
member. They can help you on that. If it's because you need an REI, I can help on that side.
Yeah.
And yes, we have wonderful doctors in New Jersey. Martha saying, yeah, she was told by her endocrinologist to get a gastric surgery to solve her weight problems.
So that, you know what, that's, you hear that because that's, it's been, you hear more about bariatric surgery in the over the
Mm-hmm.
past 5 years or so for
Mm-hmm.
PCOS. There have been studies on that, but you know, the long-term data, I'm not sure if that really is. However, I mean, if that's what you need to do to jumpstart, um, to get to a place where you feel more healthy, um, it's your choice.
Right.
But it is your choice. If you feel uncomfortable with a surgery for weight loss, then find other options.
Mm-hmm.
They're wonderful registered dietitians who specialize in PCOS. And naturopathic
That's right.
doctors and integrative care specialists and functional medicine physicians who understand how to
That's
create
right.
an individualized plan for you. Yeah.
We love our naturopathic MD. We love Dr.
Yeah.
Raquel. So we just did an episode, I think 2 weeks ago, in which she was talking to sort of the pre-metformin stage. Like if you're
Mm,
looking at, you know, improving your insulin sensitivity with chromium
mm-hmm.
and balancing hormones with inositol products. And I was like, ooh, I like that approach. How come somebody hasn't put the chromium in the inositol product though?
There may be, but
There
you know
might
what?
be.
And that's the thing that, and for another person, NAC or NAC may be,
She loves NAC.
so
Yeah,
it's
right.
and some things work better for this person, and I think
Trial and error
actually
approach
trial
again.
and error, but also knowing your numbers. So going to someone who runs those tests and understands the importance of knowing your vitamin D levels, and the
Mm-hmm.
connection to overall
Totally.
health, to fertility, etc. That's one place to start. Know where you are now, and then figure out what works for you.
That's right.
All
That's
right,
right. That's why you have to have the right team so that you
you
you you
do,
can safely try things, look at
you
the
do.
impact, kind of document it. You have to be kind of your own science experiment where you're tracking all the data. Rika's saying that they said that she can take something to clear the hair in her face, but she won't be able to try to get pregnant because of it. And now she's aging up and dealing with age-related infertility too. And so that's
Yeah.
so much part of the trial and error, right? Like you solve one thing, but then it hurts another thing.
Yeah, so she's likely getting prescribed spironolactone or some anti-androgenic formulation. Um, and that virilizes, I'm sorry, that feminizes the male offspring.
Mm,
So it's a challenge. So you're
wow.
not supposed to get pregnant when you're on some of these things to clear up the hirsutism,
Right.
or some of the other,
Or like yeah, like Accutane with acne, right? Like you can't
right?
get pregnant on that. And
Yeah.
Very difficult. And I'm seeing a couple of users empathize with each other where they struggle to put on weight and they're saying you can't have PCOS. Well, let me tell you, we work with a doctor in Singapore. Everybody there is underweight with abysmally low vitamin D levels, and they have a huge PCOS problem.
They do.
So
they do.
That is such a misnomer here. It's such a misnomer about that. And that's so frustrating too. Shelanab, PCOS doctor in New York. So connect with PCOS Challenge, follow Sasha on her Instagram, become a member of PCOS Challenge, because they can help with you finding the right kind of doctor. If it's an REI that you're looking for that has a lot of success stories about helping people have a healthy baby, that's our mission. Help 100 million healthy babies born to healthy mamas and papas. Then when there's both, or when it's just single dads by choice, it just rolls off the tongue better when you say mamas. So we can help on the REI side, and our partner PCOS Challenge will help on the OBGYN side, or kind of holistic care. You know, the folks that we tend to invite into our network on the provider side tend to be the ones that are going to help you at the baby making stage. Although now, you know, after talking to you, I want to get more and more involved. Yes. All right. I'm just scrolling to see if there's anything else.
So they can join us at reach out to us at PCOS Challenge on Instagram or on social media. You can also send us an email through the PCOSchallenge.org site.
Okay, great.
It's a contact form.
And so this is our last push for this, okay, that tonight's the last night that you can register for PCOS Advocacy Day. Please join us. It is such an amazing day. You will be taught for only, $25. It's it. Like, you're paying $25 for amazing advocacy training, and you'll get the real experience of having your voice be heard and participating in legislative change. And it's incredible. So there are definitely some very specific medical questions coming up. So fertility doctors in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Lexus Heman, just go ahead and drop me a DM so I can connect you to my advocacy team, and they'll get you a fertility doc in Pennsylvania. And perfect. We got it registered. Awesome.
Yay.
Excellent. All right. We want to see more of you join us. I promise it's going to be so fun. Sasha, you know how much I admire you. You know how much I love what you're doing. And I'm just so grateful to just be circling your orbit a little bit. Whatever we can do to be helpful, we want to be helpful. And I'm just grateful that all of us in this community have women like you who are leading the charge, who are saying enough is enough. And you're such an innovator.
Thank you. And same for you, Alice. I mean, you used your own personal story to build your company to help people everywhere. So, kudos to you. Thank you for everything that you do. Thanks to the MedAnswers team as well. And thanks for joining us, advocating alongside us. It's
absolutely
greater in numbers.
It's the best way for me to celebrate my little brother's birthday, is to make a difference in the world for March 4th. Okay.
Yes. Happy birthday to your brother.
Yes. Happy birthday, Mikey. All right. So go to PCOSchallenge.org, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Tomorrow is Fertility Tip Tuesday. Dr. Raquel will be back. And if you have PCOS, she's a great person to connect with, because she's got good ideas that you can try. And we love you, and we'll see you. Thank you.
Bye now. Thanks for having me.